Hi, welcome to my channel. My name is Judy. And before we get started, if you would just hit that subscription, subscribe for me, I'd really appreciate that. You might want to ring that little bell. And hopefully at the end of this, if you like what I've said, or if it's interesting to you, or just because you want to, you can hit the like also. I'm going to talk about kind of a touchy subject. And I'm going to try to say what I need to say through spiritual eyes, not just human eyes. Spiritual eyes as I see it. Again, this is just my opinion. I'm not a religion. I'm just some person who sees things in my own way, just like everybody else. But for some reason, I feel like talking about it. So, I think just about every group of people in the world at some point has been victimized, has been mistreated, been disrespected, bigoted against. And some people think white people haven't had that, but there have been. I mean, you have to go back to Scandinavian times, but there's been plenty of, of all of that. But we do know in more modern times, at least in the United States, we have had a lot of issues, black and white issues. In the United States we had a lot of, early on, Italians were looked down on, Irish were looked down on. Just because you were from a different country and you spoke a little different, you were, it was bad. But I think slavery is, although there's been plenty of other folks in the world and in centuries of time that have been enslaved, none of it carried on and through to now. Now, we don't have slaves now, of course, thank God, but for people to be treated as property, oh yes, it's an experience. It's not right. We need to learn from that. And there are so many ways we can separate ourselves from each other, and believe me, we are doing it. I mean, Democrats, Republicans, transgender people, and people who, believe that, that's a sin. But the black and white issue has gone on and on and on. And I feel like, I said this early on in one of my very first videos, you don't really know what it's like to be black unless you're black. And although I know, I've told you, I have a memory of being a young black slave named Delia, who was 17 years old when she died. That doesn't make me an expert. Spiritually, everything is an experience. And even the worst experiences are ones that we choose to be a part of. And we are given as gifts so that we can learn what love is. Because again, you don't know what love is until you know what it's not. So boy, do we have some gifts popping up all over our world right now, don't we? I mean, piles of them. But I've known people who don't even really give anybody a chance. They just, if their skin color is this, then they're not good people. Or at least that's how they act. And how can you act like that if you don't really think it, My strongest feeling about the whole issue between black and white is that many years ago, white people made a mistake by buying black people from a black tribe who sold their own people to us. I mean, we all have some responsibility in that. But then we kind of kept it going. And when we finally did give them freedom, then what were they supposed to do? They didn't own anything, they didn't have anything. They didn't know how to live except for where they were living all their lives on some, plantation somewhere picking cotton. It wasn't like they could go to college now or something. It was a very difficult transition. People don't realize that. It wasn't like, oh good, now we're free, let's go do, that isn't how it was. And there were lots of people who looked at them like, well, as if they were still slaves. I mean, I was born in 1955. Black women couldn't vote yet because they were black. People wouldn't hire them because they were black. So they lived in ghettos. Not all of them, but a good amount. They didn't have any choice. They didn't have any chance. And a lot of them worked their way up through, but people still look at them like they're not good enough. And I think that the younger generations are so much better than my generation, and the generation before mine was awful, really. But it's still there, and the resentment is still there. Putting them in a category. And let me be really honest with you, and there's no comparison as to this is worse than this or anything like that. But racism isn't just one-sided. We all know that for whatever reasons, whether they're good reasons or bad reasons, I'm sure there's plenty of black people who don't like white people. They may feel justified. Maybe they are. But why do any of us feel that way? Oh yes, it's an experience. And an important one. So what do we do about that? I really think the only thing we can do is try not to carry it on. Not to give it to our children. Not to say things that aren't necessary. Your mom always said, if you can't say something nice, don't say something at all. That's good. Then you have to move to, if you can't think something nice, don't think anything at all, But spiritually, no matter how long it takes, we will eventually not be so bigoted. All of us, not just white people, all of us. We all have that. There's nothing different about us. Not really, not down deep inside. We're the same. So to pull each other ahead is to see the inside. Because the outside doesn't matter anyway. Yes? Let me know what you think. And in the meantime, thank you for letting me talk. I'll see you next time.